What's happening, you guys? Friday, there was an airplane crash by Steamboat Springs, Colorado. Kind of curious about what they might have actually seen when they were in that area. Where they ended up crashing into a mountain. They got too low ultimately. They were in an area where they were supposed to be above 9,100 feet in altitude, and I think they got down to about 8,000. I don't know. Maybe they thought they were lined up with the runway, but weren't. But I don't know the area there. I know where it's at, but I'm going to go ahead and do a simulated flight and see what exactly we're dealing with here. Now, this happened just after midnight, local time there on Friday morning. But I'm going to do a daytime flight so we get a better perspective of what we're actually seeing there, right? Now, I'm going to take a look at what kind of aircraft they were in, what kind of weather conditions they had, and all that, and so we can kind of get a better idea of what they really were dealing with. All right, first we got to get the basic details here. Well, it was early Friday morning. They crashed on Emerald Mountain. And you can see kind of how, I'm going to show you here on ADS-B Exchange in a minute what they basically did. Beside this, but also, I mean, it'll show this, but I also want to show you what the altitudes they were at and stuff like that, speeds, whatever. Plane crashed into Emerald Mountain at an elevation of 8,000 feet. Yeah, that's what I saw as well when I looked at the ADS-B data. Okay, they didn't show it on here, but there was another article I had looked at that said that it crashed at around 0020 local time, mountain time, or 0720 Zulu. All right, so this is what we're dealing with here. Now, this is I already have there's an RNAV approach to runway 32 that I put in here. Those of you guys who don't know what RNAV is, basically it's a GPS guided approach in, and each of these waypoints has a specific altitude that you're supposed to be crossing at. Probably get to that in a bit here, but because I'm going to end up plugging these waypoints into my flight simulator anyway, and then and I'll use that arrival procedure probably, and then we'll see what should be happening and kind of have an idea where they actually were, how close really were to the mountains and all that. But this is the flight they took. Let me go to the high altitude chart on Sky Vector. Okay, so they flew out of this downtown airport, Wheeler Field, here by downtown Kansas City. Right where all the rivers are at down there. I don't know the exact instrument. I assume they took an instrument flight plan, but I don't know. Whatever the case, they came down, basically came over this way and then came back down this way and then basically went downwind here. And then came right base and then came up, but instead of following right here along this RNAV route, I think they were a little further over this way, and yeah, as you see here, got some higher elevations here too. Got 11,200 feet over here, right along that path. And there's a waypoint over here. Which one was it? One of these waypoints, I remember they had a minimum elevation altitude of 9,100 feet. I don't remember which one it was, but the field elevation, as you see here, 6882, almost 6,900, whatever. All right, so let's take a look also while we're at it. Runway, okay, the runway is only 4,452 feet long. Not a very big runway, pretty small. Weight limit, single gear, 50,000 pounds. Double gear, 60,000. That's it. So can't put very much on there. And then, yeah, it's a small runway. It's with that altitude, it's probably hard to take off and land from that, especially depending on the weather conditions. All right, let's get back over here to the incident aircraft. Let me zoom out. Okay, and as you see here, it's flying at 13,750 at the moment. Or 13.9, whatever, depending on I'm not so big on that. All right, now they're descending. And also, they were in a 2024 Epic aircraft, Epic LT. As you see there, we'll take a look at what that is a little more closely, what its capabilities are and all that. But you can see its ground speed is 178 knots there. All right, leveled off at about 13,000. And now it's in a 1,600, between 13 and 1,600 foot per minute descent. Okay, so ideally, I think what they should be doing is coming straight up this way through this little valley here. And then once they get over into here, turn to line up with the runway. But for some reason, right over here, this right by this Lucky One Ranch Airport area, some reason they turned a little bit more directly to the airfield instead of coming up this way to line up with the runway. All right, they got to about 8,000 feet, and then, yeah, they crashed right there. Right by the peak, it looks like. Okay, I don't know what the peak of Emerald now. 2,515 meters. Meters to feet. 2,515 is 8,251. So they were about 250 feet below the peak there. I guess they almost cleared it, but how they missed it, I don't know. Yeah, it was dark, and they did have some weather. Let me see if I can pull it up from 96 hour ASBS. All right, so we're looking for February 13th at 0720 Zulu as the ideal time. So right there, that is our weather report. That was current for the time that the plane crashed. Because it was just after midnight local time, and mountain time there is during regular daylight time, during regular standard time is 7 behind Zulu time. All right, so we had winds calm, nothing at all. Had a visibility 10 miles, so that's good. Had scattered clouds at 500 feet. Okay, so our field elevation is 6,900. They had some scattered clouds at 7,400. Broken at 1,600, so that would be 69, 79, 8,500. So they got just a little bit below the broken clouds there is what it sounds like, and then also had overcast at 2,400, so that would have been 9,300 feet, something like that. So they probably had some weather, some clouds there that they were concerned about. I didn't catch if they were on a VFR or an IFR flight plan. Not going to worry too much about the altimeter, but at least we know they did have some clouds in the area to deal with, but the visibility once they got below the clouds was pretty good. Well, they did have the scattered clouds, so maybe that also factored in. The fact that it was dark, though, I still kind of wonder about. All right, so now we know what they actually did. Let's go ahead and take a look. I'm going to go ahead and get the flight simulator fired up and do an approach into here and see how it actually goes. Before we do that, though, let's look at Epic Aircraft, Epic LT, because I'm not familiar with this aircraft. It looks like a small, maybe a single engine, low wing aircraft. I don't think I have this one on my flight simulator. I could be wrong, but okay, to me it looks kind of akin to a Pilatus PC-12 in a way. Something along that line. Let's go and look at the specs. Crew of 1, capacity of 5, 35 feet long, wingspan of 43, 12 and a half feet high, weighs 4,000 pounds empty and 7,300 gross. It has one Pratt & Whitney turboprop engine, 1,200 horsepower. Cruise speed, 340 knots, so it's pretty nimble little airplane there. Service ceiling, flight level 310. Okay, so they can get pretty decent height up there. Time to altitude, 9 minutes to flight level 250. All right, so at least we know what we're working with here. Since I don't think I have this one on my flight simulator, I'm going to look at the PC-12 and see how comparable that is. Okay, this one, yeah, a little bit heavier. This is what a PC-12 looks like if you guys aren't familiar with it. Might even, cruise speed is 285 knots. Okay, it's not far off. It's a little bit slower, but not that much slower. Service ceiling, 30,000 feet. Okay, so that'll work. All right, so I know I have a PC-12 in Flight Simulator, so I might just go ahead and go with this one and see how this works out here. Now, when I look at Sky Vector, look like we're let's be a 587-mile flight. I'm not gonna record all of that. I'm gonna do just the approach part of it for you guys, so you can see just kind of an idea of what they might have been looking at there in hopefully good conditions. I don't know. I didn't take a look at what the current weather conditions are right now, though. So why not? Let's go ahead and take a look. I must have closed it up. Okay. Meter TAF. And let's look at KSBS. That is Steamboat Springs. Their current weather is 10 calm winds, visibility 10 miles, clear skies. Temperature is 7 Celsius. That should be in the 40s, low to mid 40s. Because 10 degrees Celsius is 50 degrees Fahrenheit. That's the easy way I remember. And then about every 1 degree Celsius is a little bit less than 2 degrees Fahrenheit. That's a quick way you can remember this. 10 degrees Celsius is 50 degrees Fahrenheit. And then they also cross each other at minus 40. Or you guys should know the normal stuff like the boiling point and melting whatever of water. 0 and 32 for on the cold side, and then 100 and 212 on the hot side. Anyway, okay. So and the dew point is minus 7. So got a good gap of 14 degree difference there between the temp and dew point. What that means is we're not likely to see fog. Now that means it's not extremely humid there. So that's a good sign. It'll be good for us for doing this. Let's see what we're dealing with when we don't have weather. All right, so let's take a look now. Go ahead and get this flight going. All right, guys. I did have the VR goggles on and recording, but for some reason, I think it's because I still have it configured for push to talk instead of actively through the microphone. So the microphone audio didn't record while I was doing this, so I'm going to just go ahead and just talk over the top of what you see here, right? As you see, you can see down here at the bottom, I'm direct URAG or UYRAG, whatever. And we are flying at 16,000 feet still. Okay, look over here, and we can see that we're about, I think 6 or 8 miles away from UYRAG, whatever it is. As you see here, we got plenty of altitude to work with. The highest peaks in the area were actually east of there, closer to Denver. I did mention, I think I mentioned earlier that the highest peaks in the Rockies there are just over 14,000 feet. And everything over here on this end, though, was not quite that high. But it was still up there, like 12,000, something like that. You should have been able to see that when I had the map up earlier on the Sky Vector charts and stuff. All right, we are just about over UYRAG now, UERAG, whatever, and it is starting the turn, I believe. It's a kind of a gentle cut in the corner type of turn. We're now direct GovView, and still want to cross GovView at around just under 16,000. And because got a little goofy thing going on there when it comes back to it. Look in here, I got this weird flight route there that I didn't want, but because Tilly was in there twice for some reason. Okay, yeah. Well, on the black screen there, this is what I was really wanting to accomplish: come straight across and then come in. But it made the flight longer, or it tried to make the flight longer. I overrode it, did a more direct I forced it direct Tilly after I got over Govview, which you'll see here in a minute. Yeah, and you see I got Tilly in there twice, which was I think part of the problem. If I deleted that second Tilly, might have gotten rid of that those extra turns there. Okay, I think I was just trying to figure out. At the time, I was trying to figure out whether how to get rid of that extra set of turns, but I think it should have just been a trivial case of delete the Tilly waypoint that did not have the altitude restriction on it, and leave the one in there that does. So I'm gonna get back in there, and I don't know if I looked down far enough to show the tablet. Yeah, so we got Tilly in there twice. If I'd gotten rid of that second one there, I think that would have gotten rid of those. Okay, we are. It's moving around to the wrong spots for me. It look like about 7.5 miles out from Govview now. Oh, by the way, if you guys are flight simmers, if you guys know how to get this to go away when you're in the VR goggles, to where, yeah, maybe even get rid of this and the other display stuff too, or at least toggle them on and off. I would appreciate knowing how to do that because a lot of times, yeah, I don't really care to see those, and there are other times they actually are very useful. So I would love to be able to toggle those on and off if I can. Okay, so as you see there, I forced it direct Tilly now. And instead of deleting the other Tilly, I just went ahead and forced it direct map key or whatever that other waypoint was after that. I forget what its name was. We are still at 16,000-ish, and I think at that point I'd gotten altimeter update and I changed it. Okay, now you see we're going to start descending. And I think that descent was to 12 something. Yeah, 12,400. You can see that right now. If I ever look back down or look over here enough. Yeah, right there. Right there is, we're set at 12,400 and then we're set at 1,600 foot per minute descent. Some pretty nice views here, I think. Might have been a little bit high there, though, because like I said, I should have been crossing Tilly at around 12.4. And I think I got there a little late. Well, I don't know that I was that far off, but I was, yeah, a little high. And you're going to see that my approach was too high. A real world pilot would have ended up doing a go around, more than likely a missed approach, and came back around to get lower. And that was all my fault because of that Tilly being in there twice. But I ended up doing just a single approach in and just hand flew it in. You'll see in a bit here. All right, we should be about to cross Tilly here in a second. I get my landing lights on now, and I believe I can't remember if my landing gear. No, my landing gear's still up, but I'm getting ready to drop them. Okay, I actually did make it down to 12.4. Look like right around the time, but now see I'm forcing it direct map key now. But I was a little late catching that I had leveled off at 12.4 and that I had to reset my. You see, I'm setting my altitude down to the next setting down, which was what 10.8, I think. Yeah, 10,800. That's what I was going to have to cross the next waypoint at. But it took me a minute to figure out that I was actually holding steady at 12.4 because I didn't put the vertical speed hold on until after I noticed it quite a few seconds later. Okay, I think at this point where I'm finally figuring out, or just about to figure out. No, yeah. See, I'm busy with setting up the display units, and yeah, I'm still holding steady at 12.4. I should have already been descending. Should have already been down at like 10.8 by then. But again, I didn't catch it. Distracted with other stuff going on, setting up things and trying to force it direct waypoints that shouldn't have had to force it direct. So that was my bad there with mishandling of the computer. Yeah, now here's map key. Yeah, map key right there. We should already be down to 10.8 as we're crossing it, but I wasn't. I'm still up at 12.4. I think I was already up. I was already crossing map key, or just see, I'm already within 2 miles of map key right there, a mile and a half out, and I'm still holding steady at 12.4. So that's what kind of messed up this approach for me a little bit. Didn't have quite as good a grasp for how close I was to the terrain, or how close I should have been to the terrain if I was on the correct descent profile. Unfortunately, I was too high. But it is what it is. We at least got kind of an idea to work with here still. All right, now I'm just now figuring out that I'm still holding steady at 12.4 and going to start. Actually, yeah, I'm already past, and it's supposed to be dropping down to 9,100 now, and still haven't descended at all. Finally, getting my vertical speed set up. And right over there in that snowy area, I believe, if I remember, right over here should be where the airfield is at. Emerald Mountain or whatever is this. Yeah, if I'm moving too much. That mountain right there in between me and the airport, right there should be the area where they crashed. Now, it took me a bit to figure out where exactly I was looking at, but right there, you can see that alternating white and green beacon. That is an indicator for a civilian airfield. It's green and white like that. If it's a civilian airport, it is green, white, and white. You know, two whites, basically a white that's split in half, really. It's the same kind of white, but it's got a splitter between it. It'll be like that if it's a military airfield. Okay, see, I am finally descending through 10/8 right now, and I'm at least a few miles past where I should have been at 10/8, so I am too high. I should have been crossing this WD check, whatever, at 9100 or closer to 9100, and as you can see, I'm still over 10,000 feet here, right around 10,000, 10,002 right now. And I'm already past WD check, and I'm already flying direct that next waypoint. And now you can see the runway up here, up ahead. Right, too much movement. Okay, autopilot is off. Now I'm hand flying it in. I'm going to use these lights on the end of the runway to help me figure out how high I need to be, or what altitude I need to be at on the way in. And you see, it's a really funky approach. It's not I'm not approaching directly at the runway like I would a normal airfield. Also, I believe when I was looking at the Sky Vector, it was a 4-degree descent profile and not a 3-degree like a standard. So a couple of weird things going on there. I think it's because of the terrain. But as you see there, you got the lights there that show that I'm too high. 4 whites, I'm too high. And I was even getting warnings from the safety systems, whatever, telling me that like the GPWIS, as we call it, our ground proximity warning system, that I was sinking too fast. Not like I cared, because it ended up being a good approach. Airspeed looked pretty good there, 94 right now, and yeah, I'm too high, but holding speed just fine, I would say. Pretty snowy there, I guess, right now. I actually flared, I actually was coming down a little bit too fast there toward the end, but so right where those thick hash marks are is ideally where you want to be touching down at. To me, I mean, it's not what I would call a perfect landing, but overall, I thought it looked pretty damn good. I was pretty happy with it. It was pretty soft from what I could tell. All right, I think I got to the end of the runway and figured out that there seems to be no taxiway over here on that end of it, so I had to turn around at the end of the runway and taxi back to the first taxiway that's up further. All right, guys, so after flying that approach and comparing it against that, what the aircraft actually did, it looked like it might have actually done roughly what it was actually supposed to do on that particular approach. Only problem was it just got too low. Should have been at 9,100 feet when it got to that waypoint. I forget the waypoint that it was, but they got all the way down to 8,000 instead. They should not have been below 8,000 below 9,100 until they were past that waypoint. And I don't think they were there. I have to take a look and see where exactly it was at in relation to where they crashed. Okay, so WDCHK. That was the waypoint that was supposed to be crossed at 9,100 feet. And over here is a peak of almost 9,000 feet. So maybe I didn't understand the route that it was supposed to do. I took it direct through the RNAV pattern. But looking at it, considering the runway is right there and you go direct right over that mountain, I'm inclined to think that it's, that you aren't really supposed to go straight over like that. And once you cross at 9,100 feet, you should start coming down like that. But you got this mountain over here that is too high. So I think what was really supposed to happen, if I understood it correctly, was that you were supposed to come this way and then intercept the localizer and then come down this way, or visual approach. I haven't even checked to see if they got a localizer on that. Let's take a look. Okay, no, they just got a Unicom frequency that basically it's uncontrolled airport. Yeah, don't see that there's any kind of localizer. I think it's just a visual approach and that's it. So that might have been part of the problem there. Maybe they run a visual flight plan and not an instrument flight plan. But I'm also thinking that maybe they were trying to do an RNAV approach or something because, well, they got RNAV here. So why is the RNAV coming kind of at that weird angle like that? And not right over town and then come and line up with the airfield right there. So I don't know. I'm really curious on this. I'm curious. I want to know what real world pilots flying into there, what kind of experiences that's, or what did I do wrong on my approach there? Obviously, I was too high. I know that for parts of that, but at least we have kind of an idea what was going on there. It didn't really look like it was that high a mountain right there, but it was still enough. It was only, I think 8,250 feet, whatever, around the area was where the peak was at, and they were at 8,000. So yeah, they smacked into it. I'm going to wrap this one up though. Otherwise, I really was just curious to know what it was like actually flying that in person. Now I'd have to do it again in the middle of the night, perhaps, or at least when it's dark to get another idea of what that part's like as well. But just looking at the terrain, my impression was should have gone off to the east of that mountain and then once intercepting the runway heading, then shoot it straight in. That's my thought on it. Yeah, I don't know what is normal there though, so I'm curious. So at least you guys have an idea, and at least I have an idea too. I don't have a real clear answer on this one, other than that they were too low for where they were at, obviously. Otherwise, it wouldn't have crashed into a mountain. All right, y'all have a good one. I'll see you. Have another one for you guys. I guess I don't know, sometime soon. We'll see you.